A few years ago, I made a mistake that led to me getting an unexpected £50,000 tax bill. Since then, I've made 3 big changes to how I run my creative business, and they've completely changed everything. And we're going to get into what those 3 changes are in a second. But first, if you are enjoying this new style of video here on the channel, please make sure you leave a thumbs up. Let me know down in the comments what other topics you'd like to see me make videos about. And of course, make sure you are subscribed with your notifications on. We are making new videos every Tuesday and Friday on all sorts of being a content creator in my 40s and liking tech kind of topics. We need to niche down a little harder. Maybe that'll be the 4th big change I make to my business. But let's worry about the first 3 for today. Because change number 1, and this is, I guess, kind of an obvious one when you see that the wake-up call was a £50,000 tax bill, and that was hiring an accountant. I've been self-employed for a long time now, 10 years since I uploaded my first YouTube video, and 8 years now since I left my last real job. And for the vast majority of that time, I've just been a sole trader, doing self-assessments, doing everything myself, and figured I could get away with doing it all myself because in a former life, I was a financial advisor. I consider myself quite financially savvy, and I figured I was doing as well as an accountant would, and I could save myself the £1,000 or so a year having an accountant was going to cost me by just doing it myself. What could possibly go wrong? A £50,000 tax bill is what could go wrong. I say it was a surprise bill, and it was a surprise for a couple of reasons, because there's a few things I didn't really know about when I was first starting out as a content creator, as a self-employed person. I didn't realize the significant tax advantages of being a limited company rather than a sole trader. And we only became a limited company about 2 years ago, 10 years after we started the channel. That has cost me tens of thousands of pounds of tax over the years, and I still wouldn't have made the change if my accountant hadn't have told me to. I also wasn't fully familiar with how payment on account works. If you're not self-employed, if you're not fully familiar with it, when you're not earning a lot of money, you just have to pay your tax that's due for the year when it becomes due. But as soon as you start earning a decent amount, and it's not like mega money, as soon as you start earning a livable wage as a self-employed person, the first year that you do that, you have to pay your tax from the year before, but you also have to pay the tax for the coming year in advance. So you basically get hit with a double tax bill. The first time that happened to me was, I think, back in 2019, 2020, and it was a pain in the backside at the time. It was like £5,000 more than I was expecting, and we ended up tightening our belts a little bit and getting through because it was £5,000 more. But then a few years ago, and we're probably going back 3 or 4 years now, we had a significant jump in our income over the course of a year, which took us into a higher tax threshold, which also increased the amount of student finance repayments that I had to make. It increased national insurance, and it also massively increased the payment on account that I was going to have to pay for the following year in a way that I wasn't expecting. And when I was preparing my self-assessment the year I got the 50 grand tax bill, I was probably expecting it to be somewhere in the region of 25k total. So when I pressed submit and it came in, I think it was £56,000 was the total bill they wanted from me to cover the tax that I was owing from the year before, because my payment on account from the year before had been too low. So I had to make up the difference there, also pay the tax due here and the tax due there. So it was like spread across 3 things because I'd managed it really badly, and I had a much bigger student finance bill than I expected. And like I say, the other bits went up as well, and I ended up paying a higher rate of tax to what I was expecting. And yeah, basically a £56,000 tax bill, which was double what I'd had set aside, and basically took away the house deposit that we'd been saving up for a little while, because that all had to go into paying the tax bill as well. And at that point, I tapped out on doing my own self-assessment and my own taxes, got an accountant, and since then, over the last few years, they've completely restructured how our business works. We are much more tax efficient now, but not only are we more tax efficient, so the total tax we pay is less. We certainly wouldn't have had to have paid a 50 grand bill if the business had been structured then the way it is now. It's run much better tax efficiently. I also wasn't putting anywhere near as much stuff through as business expenses as I thought I could. I was always very, very wary of doing that, whereas I've had an accountant actually explain to me what I can and can't class as a business expense. And turns out I was being a bit too conservative. So that's lowered the profit because our expenses have gone up, which obviously lower profit means you pay less tax anyway. So we're paying tax on a smaller profit, but in a more tax efficient way. But the biggest change of all is I know in advance how much I have to pay so I can budget for it properly as well. And there are no more nasty surprises. So yeah, it was something that we were far too long to get to. It was absolutely a false economy because yes, it costs us 4 figures each year to have an accountant, but it's saving us 5 figures every year by having the accountant, and it would have done going back 4, 5, 6 years as well. So by saving a few £1,000s, we've cost ourselves tens of thousands of pounds in tax that we didn't need to pay. So get an accountant, boys and girls. Get an accountant. Number 2 on my list of best decisions I've ever made as a self-employed content creator was building a team. And spot a theme, boys and girls, because this is something that I also took far too long to get around to. For a long, long time, I did everything myself. I planned the videos, recorded the videos, edited the videos, made the thumbnails, promoted the videos, negotiated with brands. I did everything. And it meant that I was working, as I do now, probably 12 to 16 hours a day, 6 or 7 days a week, and like working myself to the bone, but only actually creating 1 video a day, only actually spending 2 or 3 hours a day actually creating content, because the rest of the time I was doing all of the faffing around that goes alongside it. These days, I have a whole team built around me. I've got an editor, I've got a thumbnail designer, I've got help with the social media platforms that I don't operate myself, like someone runs my Facebook page for me. I've got a manager who deals with all my sponsorships and brand relationships. Obviously, I've got the accountant that I mentioned before as well. I've got Anna working with me now, whereas in the past she had a real job too, but now Anna does a lot of the behind the scenes admin and planning stuff. And all of those people, every member of that team, takes away a job that used to take up loads of my time and keep me from doing what I'm good at, which is sitting in front of a camera and talking. But they also do the jobs better than I did as well. So it has a twofold benefit. It frees me up to make more content. So rather than being stuck making 1 video a day, I can now do a video a day on my Football Manager channel, a video a day on the Lego channel. I can do a couple of videos a week on this channel. I can do multiple TikToks a day. I can stream and still have time left over to plan and script bigger, longer videos and do some more creative content as well. So I'm freed up to do the stuff that I'm better at, which of course increases production, increases income because we're producing more, so we're making more. But also the quality of all that stuff has improved as well. So you can look at my Football Manager channel, you can see the day I got a thumbnail designer, and you can see the incredible difference that it made getting one. And it almost overnight like doubled the amount of views we were getting on the videos because they were just better, they were packaged better. And that in turn freed me up to spend more time working on getting the titles better and the overall packaging stuff better. And yeah, the quality of everything has gone up massively over the last 2 or 3 years. Yes, costs have gone up massively too. Terrifyingly, I think I've probably spent as much on my team in the last year as I used to earn when I was still a teacher. So similar to what I was talking about with the accountant, but on a much bigger scale. It is an expensive change. It is costing me tens of thousands of pounds a year to have this team around me, but they make more money than they cost. And that's something that as a starting content creator, it can be quite difficult to get your head around because obviously the idea of committing to spending loads and loads of money is terrifying. But when you realize that by spending that money, you're going to make even more and it's going to end up making you better off overall, it does kind of make sense. And even though I can see that intellectually, there's still more stuff I need to outsource. I need to get brave enough to hire an editor for this channel, to hire an editor for Block Party. I need to be getting somebody else doing the thumbnails for this channel on Block Party, because at the moment, the editor and the thumbnail guy. They're just on the Football Manager channel. But I need to get somebody doing that for all of the channels because, again, it will free me up with more time. Doing the admin bits that I'm still doing for these two channels probably costs me 10 to 12 hours a week, which is like a full working day. If I brought somebody in to take care of all of that or passed it out to people who are already working with me, whether it's Anna, whether it's Topher, my editor, whoever it is who picks up that slack, if it frees me up for another day of work a week, think of the extra. I could go up to 3 or 4 videos on this channel. I could get the TikTok associated with this channel up and running. I could start streaming a bit more again. There's so much stuff I could do if I just freed myself up a little bit more. But again, there's that fear of, but it is expensive to do initially. You have to take that initial plunge, and obviously you start paying for it straight away, but you don't start reaping the rewards of it straight away. There maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 months down the line. So it's always difficult to make the plunge, but looking back on every time I have done that, every time I brought somebody new in, it has been a benefit. And I think at some point, probably around the time FM26 comes out, and I realise that I just don't have as much time to spend on the Lego stuff and the vlog stuff anymore, I suspect that's the point where we'll start bringing new people into the team again, just so I can keep those channels ticking over while I'm putting some of my focus back on that one again for a little while. And then lastly, the third best decision I've ever made as a content creator was diversification, because this one saved our company. I relied for a couple of years there on Football Manager far too much. When I first started out, I started out as a Football Manager content creator, but within a year, this channel existed. And within 2 years, this channel had more subscribers and was getting more views than the Football Manager one. And over the years, they've battled back and forth. Both channels have got over 100,000 subs. The Football Manager one has always made more money. And over the years, the Football Manager one did kind of pull away and become more and more successful as this one shrunk back down. And there was, like I say, a couple of year gap there where I was basically just doing Football Manager. We'd stopped vlogging here. We had the occasional flirtation with other stuff like the travel content, like the Pokemon content that we did for a while, but 80% of our income was Football Manager YouTube videos. We didn't even have the diversification between YouTube and Twitch particularly anymore. We got to the point where Twitch was only being propped up by a sponsor, and then we lost the sponsor. And the vast majority of what I was earning, and following on from what we were saying before, the vast amount of what was paying for the team was the Football Manager YouTube content. And if it had still been like that a year ago or 8-9 months ago, the FM25 delay and cancellation could have crushed us, and it could have finished the business off. I would not have been able to keep up with the expenses of the business based on the income that the Football Manager channel has created over the last 8 or 9 months. Luckily, and part of it is luck, the timing of it is certainly luck, but the plan of it was always diversification. Like I say, I'd tried it multiple times with multiple things over the years, but luckily the one that finally worked was launching Block Party 18 months ago. We launched Block Party, it immediately took off. The YouTube channel is growing massively, and in June, the Block Party YouTube channel got more views and made more money than the Football Manager YouTube channel did the month before, which is mad. They are basically equivalent now as the YouTube channels, but with Block Party, we've got a much bigger Patreon than we have with Lelujo. And also we've got a successful, 4 figures a month TikTok associated with Block Party as well, that we don't have with Lelujo. And we've got sponsors on Block Party that we don't have on Lelujo. So I'm actually at the point now, sat here 18 months after Football Manager last released, and Football Manager isn't even the biggest part of the business anymore. Block Party, as a total, taking into account the YouTube, the TikTok, the Patreon, the sponsorships, earns a lot more money than Lelujo does at the moment. On the top of that, we've relaunched this channel, which, I mean, we're never going to make a lot of money on this channel. We've known that forever. A lot of our videos in our back catalogue are demonetized because YouTube, and we don't upload often enough, and we don't upload in a YouTube-y enough way to be able to consistently make a lot of money and get a lot of views. But it's nice to have this channel up and running again, and it certainly helps. But I am lucky when I compare this summer to last summer. we're making more money now than we were last summer as a company because of Block Party and this channel. The Football Manager side of things, way less, to the point where, like I say, if I hadn't have diversified and started the other channels, or started this channel up again, started the new channel, if I hadn't have done that, I certainly wouldn't have a team anymore. We'd be back to like 0.0, having to rebuild when FM26 came out. But the diversification that we've done has allowed us to just kind of float Lelujo for a year because we know it's going to come back with a bang. And if they don't release a Football Manager this year, then we might have to make some difficult decisions and really focus in on this channel and Block Party. But at the moment, the diversification has allowed me to keep Lelujo going as a daily thing, almost as a passion project that by the time I've paid everyone involved with it, doesn't really make very much money at all. But it's kept itself in a nice little holding pattern. So when the new game comes out, we can capitalize on that whilst not having to make too much in the way of tough decisions in the meantime because of the other stuff that we've got as well. So yes, the timing was lucky, but goodness me, I'm glad I've spent 10 years trying to get a second channel up and running. And now we've got 3. What a time to be alive. And it is really nice to sit here with all the uncertainty around FM26 and whether or not it's even going to happen and when it might happen, knowing that actually for the first time in 10 years of being a content creator, we don't actually need Football Manager anymore. If Football Manager went away tomorrow, our business, our company will be fine. We would be absolutely fine. I'd be gutted because I love that game. It is still my main obsession, my main passion, and it's the thing that I can see myself making content on every day for the rest of my life, and that would always be the plan. But for the first time ever, if it doesn't work out that way, we'll be fine. And that is a lovely, lovely safety net to have. So they are the 3 best decisions I've ever made as a content creator. Getting an accountant, building a team, and diversifying our revenue streams. Those 3 decisions have saved this business on more than one occasion. And if you're a content creator yourself, I'd love to know what your best ever decisions have been, or maybe your biggest mistakes. Let me know down in the comments. I'm going to go and have a lie down because looking at how much I pay that team, goodness me, it really is stressful. People need some pay cuts. Thanks for watching, everybody.